What if I told you that the reason your past years felt heavy is because they were preparing your nervous system for a breakthrough year? Not a lucky year, not an easy year, but a year where your mind finally works with you instead of against you. 2026 is not waiting for you to be ready. It is waiting for you to decide. Tonight is not about motivation that fades by morning. This is about flipping an internal switch that changes how you think, how you act, and how you show up when no one is watching. Most people don't fail because they lack talent, intelligence, or opportunity. They fail quietly, internally, long before the world ever sees it. They fail in the moments when they tell themselves a later, a next year, or when I feel ready. And that is why this moment matters. Because a new year is not a change of calendar, it is a psychological reset button. It is one of the few times your brain is naturally open to rewriting identity. 2026 is not magic. It is momentum waiting to be claimed. Right now, your mind is asking a question it asks every year. Is this going to be different, or am I going to repeat myself again? And the honest answer is uncomfortable because deep down you already know motivation alone has never saved you. You felt inspired before. You've started strong before. But inspiration without alignment always collapses. This year is different, not because circumstances will suddenly improve, but because awareness has arrived. You are beginning to understand how your thoughts shape your behaviors, how your behaviors shape your habits, and how your habits quietly decide your future. Psychology teaches us that the brain does not respond to goals, it responds to identity. You don't rise to the level of your hopes, you fall to the level of your self-image. So if 2026 is going to be your year, it will not start with external changes. It will start with an internal decision to stop negotiating with your potential. Well, to stop waiting for confidence and start building evidence. To stop treating discipline like punishment and start seeing it as self-trust. This is the year you stop asking for permission. The year you stop underestimating the compound effect of small actions done daily. The year you realize that consistency is not boring, it is powerful. When psychology meets intention, transformation becomes inevitable. You are not here by accident. You are here because something inside you is tired of surviving and ready to execute. 2026 is not promising you comfort. It is offering you growth. And if you accept that offer, this will be the year you look back on and say, that was the moment everything changed. 2026 is not about becoming someone new. It is about reclaiming the version of you that existed before fear learned how to speak louder than instinct. Before hesitation became your default response. Before you started confusing comfort with safety and familiarity with fulfillment. Psychologically, the human brain is designed for survival, not greatness. It prefers predictability over progress, even if that predictability is painful. That is why so many people stay stuck in cycles they claim to hate, not because they enjoy them, but because their nervous system recognizes them. The brain chooses the known over the unknown every time. Once you understand this, something powerful happens. You stop hating yourself for procrastinating. You stop labeling yourself as lazy or undisciplined. You realize you were never broken. You were simply untrained. Your mind has been doing exactly what it was programmed to do. Protect you from uncertainty. Growth threatens identity. Change threatens ego. So your brain resists not because you are weak, but because it thinks it is keeping you alive. This is where 2026 becomes different. Not emotionally different, but strategically different. This is the year you stop fighting your brain and start working with it. Instead of waiting for motivation, you design structure. Instead of hoping for discipline, you build systems. Psychology proves that willpower is unreliable, but identity is relentless. When you tie your actions to who you believe you are, behavior becomes automatic. You no longer ask yourself if you feel like doing the work. You do it because it matches your self-image. Fear loses its power the moment you stop seeing it as a stop sign and start seeing it as feedback. Fear is not telling you to quit. It is telling you that you are standing at the edge of expansion. Every time you lean into discomfort, your brain learns a new rule. This is survivable. That rewiring is everything. Confidence is not something you think into existence. It is something your nervous system earns through repeated exposure to challenge. Discipline then stops feeling like punishment. It becomes an act of self-respect. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, no matter how small, your brain releases evidence that you can be trusted, evidence that your words mean something. Over time, that evidence stacks, self-trust grows. And self-trust is the foundation of confidence, resilience, and momentum. 2026 is not asking you to overhaul your life overnight. That approach fails psychologically. Radical change triggers resistance. Sustainable change is subtle. It starts with showing up even when the voice in your head suggests waiting. It starts with choosing progress over perfection. Your brain does not need dramatic gestures. It needs consistency. Consistency tells your subconscious that this is no longer a phase. This is who you are now. When you understand that your mind is not your enemy, but your instrument, everything shifts. You stop reacting emotionally and start responding intentionally. You stop chasing motivation and start cultivating identity. And once identity changes, behavior follows effortlessly. This is how real transformation happens, quietly, daily, internally. 2026 is not your year because the world will change. It is your year because you will, not loudly, not desperately, but deliberately. Your mind does not believe what you say you will do. It believes what you repeatedly prove. Psychologically, this is one of the most misunderstood truths about motivation and confidence. People think confidence comes first and action follows. In reality, action comes first and confidence is the neurological after effect. The brain is an evidence-based machine. It does not respond to intentions, affirmations, or excitement. It responds to patterns, and every pattern you repeat teaches your brain what to expect from you. This is why promises made in moments of emotion often collapse. When you say, "I'll start tomorrow," your brain files that under imagination, not identity. There is no neurological weight behind it. But when you take a small action today, especially when it feels inconvenient, your brain records something different. It records proof. Proof that you can act without perfect conditions. Proof that discomfort does not equal danger. And proof is the currency of self-belief. Every small win, no matter how insignificant it feels, physically rewires your brain. Neural pathways strengthen through repetition, not intensity. That means showing up for 10 minutes daily is more powerful than a single burst of effort once a week. The brain loves familiarity. When you repeat a behavior, you reduce resistance. What once felt hard starts to feel normal, and what feels normal becomes automatic. This is how identity shifts, not through declarations, but through accumulation. At first, you are forcing yourself to act. Then one day, without noticing when it happened, the internal dialogue changes. You stop asking, "Should I do this?" and start saying, "This is just what I do." Now, that is the moment procrastination loses its grip, because procrastination thrives on uncertainty. When your identity is unclear, your brain delays. When identity is defined, your brain executes. Confidence, then, is not loud or dramatic. It is quiet familiarity. It is the calm certainty that comes from repetition. People with real confidence do not hype themselves up. They trust themselves because history has shown them they follow through. This kind of confidence does not depend on mood. It survives stress, fatigue, and doubt because it is rooted in habit, not emotion. Momentum works the same way. Motivation fades quickly because it is emotion. Momentum lasts because it is mechanical. Once you start moving, stopping feels harder than continuing. The brain seeks efficiency. It would rather stay in motion than restart. That is why the first step is always the hardest. After that, resistance drops. 2026 is not asking you to do more. It is asking you to do smaller things more often. To stop chasing intensity and start valuing consistency. To understand that imperfect action beats perfect intention every time. When you build a streak, even a small one, your brain begins to protect it. You don't want to break it, not because someone is watching, but because your identity is now attached to it. This is how change becomes sustainable. Not through pressure, but through alignment. Your actions align with your self-image aligns with your behavior. And once that loop is formed, growth becomes inevitable. In 2026, you will not wait to feel ready. You will move, and readiness will follow. You are not behind. Your mind only tells you that because it is comparing your internal timeline to someone else's highlight reel. Psychologically, comparison distorts perception. It convinces you that progress should be visible, fast, and celebrated. But the brain does not grow that way. Real transformation happens quietly, in periods that feel unproductive, confusing, and heavy. These seasons are not failures. They are neurological loading phases. When pressure enters your life, your brain interprets it as threat before it recognizes it as preparation. Stress hormones increase. Doubt gets louder. Old coping patterns resurface. This is not regression, it is adaptation. The mind is trying to reorganize itself to handle a higher level of responsibility. Growth feels uncomfortable because your brain is literally building new pathways, and anything unfamiliar triggers alarm. Most people quit here, not because they are incapable, but because they misread the signals. They interpret discomfort as a warning instead of an upgrade. They assume clarity should come before courage. But psychology shows us that clarity is the reward for movement, not the requirement. You do not see the full path until you take the step. The brain learns through action, not observation. Delayed gratification is one of the strongest predictors of long-term success. But delay feels like stagnation when you do not understand what is happening beneath the surface. In reality, your subconscious is integrating lessons, failures, and experiences into a stronger internal framework. This is why breakthroughs often look sudden from the outside, but feel inevitable from the inside. The work was done long before the result appeared. Your nervous system needs time to calibrate to bigger visions. If success arrived before your internal capacity expanded, it would overwhelm you. Anxiety, self-sabotage, and burnout are common when the mind is not ready to hold what the ego desires. That is why waiting seasons exist. They are not empty. They are stabilizing. They teach patience, emotional regulation, and resilience. Discomfort then becomes a sign of progress. When you feel stretched, uncertain, or challenged, it means your current identity is no longer sufficient for where you are going. The brain resists because it prefers the familiar, but growth demands unfamiliarity. When you stop interpreting discomfort as danger, you stop retreating. You lean in, and leaning in changes everything. 2026 will test you, not to break you, but to reveal you. Pressure exposes patterns. It shows you where you still seek validation, where you still doubt your worth, and where you still play small to feel safe. This is not a flaw, it is information. Awareness is the first step to mastery. Courage is not the absence of fear, it is the decision to move while fear is present. Every time you choose action over avoidance, your brain learns a powerful lesson. I can handle this. That lesson compounds. Over time, resilience replaces anxiety. Confidence replaces hesitation, and what once felt impossible becomes manageable. You are not late, you are being prepared. The discomfort you feel is not a signal to stop. It is evidence that your mind is expanding to meet a bigger version of your life. In 2026, you will stop rushing the process and start trusting it. Because once you understand what pressure is really doing, you no longer fear it, you use it. Your environment is silently shaping you more than your motivation ever will. Psychology is clear on this. Behavior is less about character and more about context. Most people try to change their lives by forcing themselves to think differently, but they keep placing themselves in the same environments that created the old habits. Then they wonder why change feels exhausting. Your brain adapts to what surrounds it. What you see daily, what you hear repeatedly, what you tolerate consistently, these things train your nervous system without asking your permission. If your environment rewards distraction, your focus will struggle. If it normalizes mediocrity, your ambition will feel unrealistic. If it constantly triggers stress, your brain will prioritize relief over progress. This is not a mindset issue, it is a neurological response. The brain is always scanning for cues about what is normal and what is expected. It adjusts your behavior accordingly. This is why willpower burns out. Willpower asks you to fight your environment every day. Systems ask your environment to work for you. In 2026, real growth will come from redesigning your surroundings to support the person you are becoming. When the right choice becomes the easy choice, consistency stops feeling heroic and starts feeling natural. Identity is reinforced through cues. If your phone is the first thing you touch every morning, your brain learns that reaction comes before intention. If your workspace signals chaos, your mind mirrors it. If the people around you constantly complain, your brain adopts that emotional baseline. But the opposite is also true. When your environment reflects clarity, discipline, and purpose, your behavior aligns without constant effort. This is not about cutting everyone off or living in isolation. It is about awareness, about noticing what drains you and what elevates you, about understanding that exposure shapes expectation. When you surround yourself with higher standards through people, content, routines, and spaces, your brain recalibrates what it believes is possible. You rise not because you are trying harder, but because the floor beneath you has been raised. Language is part of your environment too. The way you speak to yourself matters more than the way others speak to you. Internal dialogue is a constant stimulus. If you repeatedly tell yourself that you are tired, unlucky, or behind, your brain treats that as instruction. It adjusts energy levels, risk tolerance, and persistence to match the story. In contrast, when your self-talk is grounded, intentional, and forward-focused, your brain organizes behavior around growth. Boundaries are psychological architecture. Every time you say no to something misaligned, you say yes to cognitive space is where focus lives. Focus is where progress is born. In 2026, success will not come from doing more, but from eliminating what no longer deserves access to your attention. Your environment should reduce friction, not increase it. If growth feels constantly uphill, something around you needs to change. When you align your surroundings with your goals, your brain stops resisting and starts cooperating. Habits form faster, decisions feel lighter, momentum builds quietly. This is how lasting change is sustained. Not through constant self-control, but through intelligent design. In 2026, you will stop relying on motivation and start engineering your life in a way that supports the person you are becoming. And once your environment aligns with your identity, progress stops feeling forced and starts feeling inevitable. As this moment comes to a close, understand something deeply and personally. 2026 does not require you to be fearless, perfect, or extraordinary. It requires you to be intentional. Everything you have heard is not meant to overwhelm you, but to awaken you. Because transformation does not begin with dramatic change. It begins with a decision that refuses to expire when emotion fades. You are standing at the edge of a year that will respond to you differently if you show up differently. Not louder, not busier, but more aligned. This is the year you stop waiting for the right mood, the right timing, or the right permission. The psychology is clear. Action creates belief, creates identity, and identity shapes destiny. When you move first, the mind follows. There will be days in 2026 when motivation is absent. Days when doubt whispers familiar lies. Days when progress feels invisible. These moments are not signs to stop. They are invitations to trust what you are building beneath the surface. Growth is often silent before it becomes undeniable. And the people who win are not the ones who feel the best. They are the ones who stay consistent when feeling nothing at all. Remember this. Your future self is created by the habits you repeat, not the goals you announce. Every small choice you make is a vote for the person you are becoming. Each disciplined action, each boundary honored, each moment you choose focus over comfort, you are shaping a version of yourself that can handle more, lead more, and live more fully. The 2026 will not reward excuses. It will reward ownership. Ownership of your time, ownership of your energy, ownership of your mindset. When you stop blaming circumstances and start adjusting strategy, power returns to your hands. You are not at the mercy of your past. You are the architect of your patterns. There is a version of you waiting on the other side of this year who will look back with gratitude. Gratitude that you did not quit when it was uncomfortable. Gratitude that you chose discipline over distraction. Gratitude that you kept going even when no one noticed. That version of you is not imaginary. It is inevitable if you stay the course. You do not need to prove anything to anyone. This journey is not about applause. It is about alignment, about becoming so consistent with your values that confidence no longer depends on validation. When you trust yourself, the noise fades, focus sharpens, direction becomes clear. Let 2026 be the year you stop negotiating with your potential. The year you stop shrinking to fit spaces that no longer serve you. The year you realize that comfort is a poor substitute for fulfillment. Growth demands courage, but regret demands far more. When this year challenges you, and it will, meet it with resolve. When it stretches you, lean in. When it tests your patience, remember that pressure is preparation. You are stronger than your excuses, more capable than your doubts, and far more prepared than you realize. Walk into 2026 with quiet confidence, with disciplined habits, with intentional focus, not because you hope it will be your year, but because you have decided to make it so. And once that decision is made, nothing can stop what is coming.